Have you ever received a gift so small that it could fit in the palm of your hand, yet carried the weight of an entire universe within its threads? Hello, my name is William. Today, I want to take you on a journey. A story about something as simple as a friendship bracelet, but as powerful as the bonds we share with others. This video isn't just about storytelling. It's also designed to help improve your English listening and speaking skills. So, grab a cup of tea or coffee, sit back, and let me guide you through this emotional tale. But before we dive in, I'll tell you this. What starts as a simple gesture will unravel into something far deeper. Something that will make you question how much power lies in the smallest acts of kindness. Are you ready? Let's begin. The rain poured relentlessly outside Willow Creek High School, tapping against the windows like a steady heartbeat. Inside the cafeteria, Emma sat alone at her usual corner table, nose buried deep in a worn-out copy of Pride and Prejudice. She preferred books over people. They were predictable, comforting, and never judged her for being quiet. Across the room, Lucas stood awkwardly near the entrance, scanning the crowded space as if searching for something, or someone. He was new. Everyone knew that much. 2 weeks ago, he'd arrived without warning, slipping into class unnoticed. No one had bothered to get to know him yet. That day, however, he did something unusual. Instead of sitting with the other students who whispered about him from afar, Lucas walked straight toward Emma. Without hesitation, he slid a small woven bracelet onto the table between them. A simple creation made of blue and green threads tied together in intricate knots. "Hey," he said softly, his voice barely audible above the hum of conversation around them. "I made this for you." Emma froze, her book slipping slightly in her hands. She looked up, startled. People didn't notice her. Not really. She blended into the background like wallpaper, existing but unseen. Yet here was this boy, holding out a piece of himself on a string. Before she could respond, Lucas added, "You look like someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone." His words hit her like a wave crashing against the shore, leaving her breathless. For a moment, Emma just stared at him, unsure what to say. The bracelet seemed insignificant, a trinket anyone could pick up at a craft store, but there was something different about this one. Maybe it was the way Lucas's fingers trembled slightly as he placed it down, or maybe it was the sincerity in his eyes. Whatever it was, it made her heart race. What Emma didn't know, and what Lucas carefully kept hidden, was that he wasn't simply being kind out of generosity. He too felt isolated after moving to a new town where cliques were already formed. Friendships solidified long before he arrived. Each knot in the bracelet represented someone he missed back home, someone he wished he could still call a friend. But instead of revealing this, he masked his loneliness with a warm smile. Over the next few days, Emma found herself wearing the bracelet every day. At first, it felt strange, like carrying a secret she wasn't sure how to handle. But gradually, it became more than just an accessory. It symbolized hope, connection, and perhaps even courage. Still, despite their growing bond, Emma couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to Lucas than met the eye. Why had he chosen her? What secrets lay beneath his calm exterior? One evening, while packing up her things after school, Emma overheard a hushed conversation between Lucas and their English teacher. Something about trouble at home. But before she could hear more, the bell rang, scattering everyone away. Her stomach churned with curiosity and unease. What was Lucas hiding? Emma couldn't stop thinking about what she'd overheard, or rather, almost overheard, the previous day. Trouble at home. What did that mean? Was Lucas okay? These questions swirled in her mind like leaves caught in an autumn breeze, refusing to settle. The next morning, during art class, Emma finally mustered the courage to confront him. They were seated side by side, working quietly on separate projects. Emma sketching a landscape, Lucas painting abstract shapes with bold strokes of color. She hesitated, her pencil hovering above her paper, before blurting out, "Why did you give me the bracelet?" Lucas paused mid-stroke, his paintbrush hovering above the canvas. For a moment, it seemed like he might brush her off or change the subject entirely. But then he sighed deeply, setting the brush down and turning to face her. His expression softened, as if he'd been waiting for this question all along. "Because I saw myself in you," he admitted, his voice low but steady. "When I first moved here, I felt invisible. Like no one cared whether I existed or not. And then I saw you, sitting alone, reading those big books like you didn't care either. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I reached out, neither of us would feel so alone anymore. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. No one had ever spoken to her with such raw honesty before. It was as though Lucas had peeled back a layer of her soul and found the part she kept hidden, the part that longed for connection but feared rejection. Their friendship grew stronger after that confession. They began spending more time together, talking about everything under the sun. From their favorite books, Emma loved classic literature, Lucas preferred graphic novels, to their fears about the future, they shared pieces of themselves they'd never shown anyone else. The bracelet remained a constant reminder of their bond, always snug around Emma's wrist. Then came the day when everything changed. Lucas didn't show up to school. At first, Emma assumed he was sick. Maybe he'd caught a cold or overslept. But when he missed 3 consecutive days, worry gnawed at her insides like a relentless storm. Determined to find answers, Emma decided to visit Lucas's house after school. When she arrived, she knocked tentatively on the door. After a few moments, a woman who looked strikingly like Lucas answered. It was his mother. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and there was an unmistakable heaviness in her posture. "Oh, hello, Emma," she said, managing a weak smile. "Lucas isn't feeling well today. He's resting upstairs." Something about the way she spoke made Emma uneasy. Before she could ask any questions, Mrs. Harper added, "We're going through some tough times right now. Financial troubles. We might have to move again." Emma's heart sank. Move again. Just when Lucas had started to fit in, just when they'd begun to build something real, it was all going to unravel. She wanted to scream, to beg them to stay, but instead, she nodded silently and left. Back home, Emma clutched the bracelet tightly in her fist, tears streaming down her face. She realized how fragile their connection truly was, and how easily it could slip away. What could she possibly do to help? As Emma lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, an idea began to take shape in her mind. A risky, audacious plan that might save their friendship, or destroy it completely. Could she pull it off? And even if she did, would Lucas forgive her for meddling in his life? Emma tossed and turned all night, her mind racing with possibilities. By morning, she had made up her mind. She couldn't just sit back and watch Lucas slip away, not when they'd only just begun to truly understand each other. If his family was struggling financially, maybe there was something she could do to help. But how? The answer came to her during breakfast. Her school often held fundraisers for various causes. Why not organize one for Lucas? Of course, she couldn't reveal the real reason behind it. Lucas would never agree to accept charity. Instead, she decided to frame it as a general, community-building event. With that thought, Emma sprang into action. First, she approached a few classmates she trusted, students who had also noticed Lucas's quiet charm and gentle nature. To her surprise, they were eager to help. Together, they brainstormed ideas for performances, ticket sales, and even refreshments. Emma secretly worked on creating dozens of friendship bracelets, each inspired by the original one Lucas had given her, all while keeping the true purpose of the event hidden. Finally, the day of the fundraiser arrived. The school auditorium buzzed with excitement as students filed in, curious about the mysterious event. Performances ranged from poetry readings to musical acts, but the highlight came when Emma stepped onto the stage. Clutching a basket filled with colorful bracelets, she addressed the crowd. "These bracelets represent friendship, support, and unity," she said, her voice trembling slightly but full of conviction. "Let's wear them proudly to remind ourselves that none of us are ever truly alone." Just as Emma finished speaking, the doors at the back of the auditorium swung open. In walked Lucas, looking shocked and overwhelmed. His eyes scanned the room, taking in the sea of faces turned toward him. He whispered hoarsely, "What is all this?" Emma froze for a moment, panic gripping her chest. She hadn't expected Lucas to show up, not tonight. But now that he was here, she knew she couldn't hide anymore. Stepping off the stage, she walked over to him, heart pounding. "Lucas," she began softly, "we wanted to do something special, something to bring everyone together. And since you're such an important part of our community..." her voice trailed off, unsure how to finish without revealing too much. Lucas stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Thank you," he murmured. "This means a lot." But despite the warm reception, Emma could see the conflict brewing in Lucas's eyes. Accepting help went against everything he believed in. He didn't want pity, and he hated feeling like a burden. That night, as the event drew to a close, Lucas pulled Emma aside. "I don't know what to say," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "I appreciate what you've done. I really do. But I need to figure out what comes next. For me, for my family." His voice cracked slightly, betraying the weight of his emotions. Emma reached out and squeezed his hand, tears welling up in her eyes. "You're not alone in this, Lucas. We'll figure it out together." But as she watched him walk away, shoulders slumped under invisible burdens, she couldn't shake the fear that her efforts might not be enough. Would Lucas let her in, or push her away? Weeks passed after the fundraiser, and while Lucas stayed in town, for now, things weren't quite the same between him and Emma. He attended school regularly, participated in class discussions, and even joined the art club, but there was a quiet distance in his demeanor that hadn't been there before. Emma often caught glimpses of him staring out the window during lunch, lost in thought, as if searching for answers written in the clouds. Still, she refused to give up. Every time doubt crept in, she glanced down at the bracelet on her wrist, a tangible reminder of their shared history. It had become more than just a gift. It was a symbol of resilience, proof that even the smallest acts of kindness could create ripples far beyond what anyone might expect. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves swirled in the breeze outside, Lucas approached Emma with a determined look in his eyes. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice steady despite the nervous energy radiating from him, "about starting a club, a place where kids can come together to talk, create, and support each other. Kind of like what you did for me." Emma's heart swelled with pride and relief. Together, they launched the Friendship Club, which quickly became a safe haven for students seeking connection. The bracelets Emma had made became symbols of belonging, worn proudly by members as reminders that no one was ever truly alone. Years later, as Emma prepared to graduate, she found a letter tucked inside her locker. The handwriting was unmistakably Lucas's. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the paper, bracing herself for whatever words lay within. "I don't know where to start," the letter began, "except to say thank you. You saved me, not just once, but over and over again. Because of you, I learned to save myself. I'll never forget the day you gave me a reason to believe in people again." Attached to the letter was a brand new bracelet, intricately woven with gold thread. On it, stitched delicately, were the words, "Forever Connected." Emma held the bracelet close, tears streaming down her face. She realized then that their bond wasn't defined by geography or circumstance. It transcended all of that. Even though miles would soon separate them as they pursued different paths after graduation, their friendship remained unshaken. As she walked across the stage to receive her diploma later that day, Emma spotted Lucas in the audience, clapping enthusiastically. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her a small, knowing smile. In that moment, she knew, no matter where life took them, the threads of their friendship would always hold strong. And so, dear viewers, the story of the Friendship Bracelet reminds us that even the simplest gestures can leave lasting impressions. If you enjoyed this tale, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Share this video with someone special. It might inspire them to reach out and strengthen their own connections. Until next time, remember, sometimes, all it takes is a single thread to weave hearts together. Thank you for watching. You're not alone. You never were.